But to start off, I would actually like to welcome Professor Deborah Terry, UQ Vice-Chancellor and President, who will do the official welcome. Unfortunately, Professor Terry has become unwell, so she's going to Zoom in, and I think the team has that sorted, that we'll be able to... Here she is. Welcome, Debbie. I'll hand over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Hopefully everyone can hear me.
Yes, yeah.
Can I also begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands on which we are meeting and paying my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I'd also like to acknowledge today's keynote speaker, Dr. Vishal Sikka, our presenting researchers, colleagues, guests, one and all. And while I cannot be with you in person today due to COVID isolation, it is still wonderful to be a part of UQ's AI Collaboratory showcase. I hope you've all had the opportunity to have a look at the many demos on the screens around you. And if you haven't, I do encourage you to do so after these official proceedings. Because what you'll notice when you do is that UQ's AI research impact is deep and diverse, driving innovative and commercial AI outcomes in areas as varied as agriculture, defence, health, education, energy, transport, manufacturing, and much more, which for some who may not be familiar with UQ's work in this area or with the AI research scene more generally, may come as a surprise. Often when people think about AI, they think about the popular culture, Hollywood version of AI, and there's a lot of noise around that version. Fears about automation replacing humans and taking our jobs, worries about AI in the hands of bad faith actors who might use it for evil rather than good, anxiety about machines which have the capacity to outlearn people and take over the world. And while some of this noise reflects legitimate concerns which are worthy of considering, discussing and addressing, we all know that there is much more to AI than the predictions of dystopian science fiction films. So to counter some of these concerns, I want to put to you all some alternative predictions, which were published last July in the UQ Business Schools magazine, Momentum. By 2030, AI will allow for earlier detection and diagnosis of some of our leading causes of disease, and we'll see greater use of at-home health monitoring devices. From 2030 to 2040, AI will make it possible for nearly all businesses to run a carbon neutral enterprise. By 2050, AI technology will read, understand perhaps emotions to personalise each customer experience, and everyday interactions will involve a mix of inputs from humans, AI-enabled machines and hybrids. These predictions, I think, are far more likely to pan out than the more malicious robot, the concept of the more malicious robots occupying Earth. However, I also recognise that it's only natural for us to be wary of things that we don't fully understand. So it's important that we take our community with us on this journey, that we account for cultural expectations and ensure that the future we are creating with this technology reflects our values and our vision for society, which is why UQ's AI Collaboratory takes a fundamentally human-centred approach to developing this technology, focusing on how AI can amplify rather than replace human potential, and building, of course, on our university's vision of knowledge leadership for a better world. Shortly, you'll hear from today's keynote speaker, Dr. Vishal Sikka, one of the world's most prominent thought leaders in AI technology and a big proponent of human-centred AI, which I've no doubt will be enlightening. Because as I see it, the piece which is sometimes forgotten about AI is that we, the people who design it, have the power to create it in our image. But not only that, we have the power to create it in our best image so that it reflects the very best of humanity, so that medical diagnoses, for example, are free from human error and human bias, so that we can optimise crop production and improve food security around the world, so that we can more accurately detect misinformation and disinformation online and avoid the dangerous effects that these can have on our democracy. At UQ, we understand the need for AI to deliver for the public good, and our researchers are working on such use cases for AI technology right now. We also understand that complex problems require complex solutions, which is why, as part of our AI initiative, we've engaged professionals and academics from across the university and created interdisciplinary teams, bringing together experts in technology, engineering, mathematics, business, law, social and political sciences to help address some of the world's most wicked, complex problems: climate change, food insecurity, disease, poverty, natural hazards. And at its core, that is what the UQ AI Collaboratory is all about, and what today's showcase is all about: putting people at the centre of the AI design process and making the technology work for us, ultimately for the betterment of humanity. So on that note, I'll now hand over to Professor Shazia Sadi to say a few words and to introduce 4 of UQ's star AI researcher. Thank you. Shazia, hopefully. Is there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor.